Shane, thank you so much for joining us here. We do really appreciate it. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you guys having me on. Hope you're doing well also.
So let's start with this stage of this season versus the stage of last season, which is you come in and all the talking points are your career and sort of your background and the roles you've had. Well, you get here, you guys get to 6 wins in the regular season. What is different? What did you learn through that first year of being that role that you are now executing today that was different maybe this time last year?
No, great question. I think a couple things. One, you know your team better. Now, obviously, we've got some new faces that have come in since last season, but the returning players, you understand them and you have better relationships with them. And then they know you better, as the head coach also. So that's different. And I think the biggest thing for me is just you have a better idea of what's coming and how to handle it. Everything that we did last year was the very first time, the first spring practice, the first summer workouts, the first preseason camp, the first win, the first loss, first bowl game, you name it. Now we've done everything one time. So it's the second time through. And so you're able to, for me, look back at things you did last year, maybe from a practice organization, practice schedule that you liked, didn't like, being able to look back at notes from last year and tweak things for this year as you continue to evolve and get better. So that's the biggest thing for me.
How would you describe your sort of I guess organizational psychology might be the right way? You could, culture is another one that people use, identity, leadership, whatever. But what is it that when you talk to recruits, when you talk to your team, when you talk to boosters, what is it that you're trying to portray as sort of the identity of who you guys are at South Carolina?
Yeah. We have a mindset that we want to play with. And we talk to our players about being, the most competitive team in the country, the toughest and hardest working, but also the closest. And, I think that portrays itself very accurately when people want to watch us play and they see the physicality and the effort that we play with. But the closest of the team is something that we really, are very intentional about. And we've had so many recruits that have been on campus this month, and we just had 13 young men and their families here on official visits last weekend. And so many of those families, came in and when I met with them, they commented just on our players and our current team and how close they are and what great young men they are and things like that. So, that the close and connected football team. And then, the things that, I'm sure all coaches want to portray on the field as well.
Guys like us, we all have opinions. That's our job. Men and women like us, Aaron and I are here to blather all summer long and make predictions. And so that's part of the job. And certainly you guys hit the over last year with the way you guys performed on the field. And first of all, was there any secret sauce to why that took place and why you were able to maximize your roster? But also, how do you use it to kind of build momentum? Because every year feels like a new year with roster management and the things you guys have to do. How do you actually take that and use it in terms of development momentum for your team moving forward?
Yeah, going back to last season, I think it goes back to what you just asked. We were a really, really close and connected team that cared for one another and believed in one another. And it was an awesome group to be around. And I'm proud of as the head coach of the fact that, we started out 2-0, then we lost 2 in a row. We were 2-2. But after that point, we never lost more than 1 game in a row. Now, we never won more than 2 games in a row, so we got to be more consistent. But we never let a loss, defeat us where we lost the next week also. We always came back. And I think we outscored, I think, all of our opponents but one in the fourth quarter. So we were a group that competed from start to finish, which I love. So I think the fact that when we competed like we did and we were super close allowed us to have the success that we had. And then going forward, you're exactly right. Every year is different, but they're, winning 3 of 5 at the end of the season, beating Florida and Auburn, beating North Carolina in the bowl game, has given this program already had a lot of new energy at the end of last season, but then winning that bowl game has given us even more as we go into this year. And certainly we've lost a lot of pieces. We've added some pieces for sure, but we've really tried to convey to our guys that nobody's sitting around patting each other on the back. That we got a lot of work to do, and all the work that went into winning 7 games last year is going to take even more to take the next step and go from 7 to the next level.
Coach, how do you've had to deal with obviously your fair share of doubters just from not having that direct head coaching experience, but did that in some ways heighten other senses for you? Were you able to see things that you think coaches with a lot of head coaching experience weren't able to see? What did that give you instead of like thinking about what it took, had taken away? Yeah.
I always, as an assistant coach, and I was an assistant coach for 21 years, I guess, before I got this head coaching job. And I hadn't been a head coach before, but I felt like all the different roles that I had in my career had prepared me to be a head coach better when I got that opportunity. I had been a recruiting coordinator, and I had coached offense and defense. I had been a special teams coordinator. I'd been an associate head coach. I'd been an interim head coach for a game. So I had a lot of experiences that helped me. And then once, and I was always preparing to become a head coach, hopefully, during my career as an assistant coach. So, I think when I became a head coach here, no, I didn't have that experience, and you're never prepared. So whether I had been the head coach at a small school, or whether I'm a head coach in the SEC, you're never totally prepared for that role. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. There's just so many things that come at you that even growing up the son of a coach and seeing that myself, a lot of things that I didn't even realize, being the son of a head coach all these years. But I felt as prepared as I could have been because of the roles that I had. And then, you learn as you go, but I'm glad I took the route that I did. I mean, I think there's a narrative out there sometimes that you have to be a offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to become a head coach. And I think that's ridiculous. I mean, I've been there's a lot of guys that I've been around that are fantastic offensive coordinators, can call plays with the best of them, but it doesn't mean they're going to be a great head coach, because when you're in the head coaching chair, there's just so many different things that you have to deal with that have nothing to do with X's and O's and calling plays. So, it worked for me, or it has worked for me to get me this opportunity, and I felt prepared as I could be because of it.
Yeah, seems to be working.
Yeah,
hope so. Some would say it's not. We'll see.
Well, no, your team psychologist, your fundraiser, your it's all this other stuff that you have to be as a head coach. And I'm curious because. And I'm not going to mention the other guy in the state, but that was his plan when he set forth for his university. Mark Stoops at Kentucky did the same thing with Mitch Barnhart when he sat down and got the job. I think Sam Pittman's doing this at Arkansas. Like, there's this sort of new wave of we're just going to hire ball coaches that know how to manage a bunch of people and do it really well. And I think that's different than the way college football was operating, let's say, for the last 10 years or so. What is it? South Carolina has all the fan support, all the resources. The recruiting base geographically is wonderful. What is it that South Carolina needs to sort of put it all together? What's the glue that it needs?
Yeah, I think we just got to continue to bring in great players and great people to this program. I mean, I feel like we have all the resources that we need to be successful. We've won national championships here in women's basketball multiple times, and baseball and other sports as well. So we've got a fantastic university. We've got great academics. Columbia's an awesome place to live. South Carolina's a great state to live in. Amazing football facility that our players train in each and every day. We play in the best conference in America. So, I mean, there's so many things, and we just got to continue to bring in great people into this program, great players. And I was here at a time with Steve Spurrier where we had some great players like Stephon Gilmore and Melvin Ingram and Alshon Jeffrey and Jadeveon Clowney and Marcus Lattimore and Connor Shaw and on and on and on and on and on. And we were pretty successful when we brought those guys in. And my last year here was 2010. And in that season, we beat Clemson, Georgia, Florida, Alabama when they were number 1 in the country, and Tennessee all in the same season. So we've had some really great years around here. We've just got to do a better job of sustaining it. And, to get back to that level, it's just going to be one day. I know it's cliche, but one day at a time, and just continuing to bring great people into this program, because we have the resources that we need to be successful. I tell recruits all the time that when I got hired, I wanted to create a program that checked all the boxes for what a student athlete was looking for when he made his college decision. And I feel like I have here at Carolina that we have. And now we just got to keep moving forward.
We know you're a relationship guy. That's pretty apparent. And you've talked a lot about this. And you now have guys that are coming from schools that you coached at before, from Oklahoma, coming to play for you again. And I know you're a coach and you have to be that. But how far beyond coaching does your relationship go with your guys?
Whatever the word is for like endless, infinite or something. I mean, that's what it is. And that's one of the things, Aaron, when I was an assistant coach, I'm always going back to that question about preparing to be a head coach. Like I was a special teams coordinator. So when you're a special teams coordinator, you have to have a relationship with every player on the team, because no 5-star recruit is coming to the SEC school that he chooses to be the right guard on the punt team, so you've got to develop relationships with these guys to make them want to go play special teams and things like that. So that gave me great experience. And, I'm a people person. I do love building relationships with people. And now I did it as an assistant coach, and now as a head coach, I love it because I get to do that with 119 players that we have on our football team. And it's getting to know them, but I love the fact that my office door is always open and that players come in here and feel comfortable talking to me. It may be something casual. They just want to come in here and watch, TV and hang out. Or in my year and a half here, we've had some really deep conversations with kids about, struggles. And at the end of the day, they're big time college football players, but they're still 18, 19, 20-year-old young men that are dealing with the same things that any 18, 19, 20-year-old is, whether it be girlfriends or family issues back home or mental health or whatever it may be. And I love that aspect of it. And it goes, it's beyond just when they're here. I mean, it's being invested in them when they're out in this building, obviously, but when they're outside this building as well. So it's can't put a figure on it, and it's endless, but I love every second of it.
I'm sure you planned this your entire career to take over as a head coach for the first time following a worldwide pandemic and entering the most chaotic period of rules in NCAA history. But it does feel like what you're just saying, Shane, is what it comes down to, whether it's the portal, whether it's name, image, and likeness, whether, pick a subject that is sort of causing chaos in our sport today. It does feel like it just comes back to like being a person with a good relationship with another person. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, like, isn't that the thing that's going to sort of propel success through all of the chaos, whether it's expansion or NIL or, a salary cap, whatever the hell the future looks like?
Yeah, I think so. And that's what it gets down to. Like, my dad used to say when he was coaching, he would tell his coaches all the time, work every day for the crisis, meaning like there's going to be something when the stuff hits the fan. And if you wait until that day to try and handle it, you're too far behind. Like the work you put in, the relationships that you develop allow you to sustain stuff when adversity comes and crazy stuff comes. And we were able to show that. If we weren't as close and connected a football team last season, I don't think we overcome the adversity that we dealt with injuries and playing 3-4 different quarterbacks and all that as well. But you're right, especially now in today's time and with the transfer portal and all that, it gets down to relationships, because we want to have a program here at Carolina that players don't want to leave. Now, does that mean everything's fun and hunky dory all the time? No, we work them really, 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 really hard, and we hold them accountable, and we're very demanding. But our players know that we care about them and we love them. And, I've yet to have, knock on wood, but I've yet to have any player on our team come into my office and tell me that he's transferring because he's unhappy. Now, we've had some guys transfer for, they just weren't, we were very honest with them and had conversations with them about their playing time and their roles, and that we didn't want them going anywhere. But if they wanted to play a little bit more, then they may need to, explore some other places. And I don't want to lose anybody, but that's why guys have left our program, not because this is a bad place that they're unhappy at. Right. And I don't think every school can say that.
Coach, so you've already pretty successfully changed the culture, and I'm sure you have more that you want to do. But from an outside perspective, that's happened pretty quickly, and you already exceeded expectations. Maybe not for you, but for what a lot of people had for you guys in your first year. How do you plan on taking all this off-season success, like getting Spencer Rattler, like not only just transfers in the transfer portal, but all the work you've done, and then turning that into actually being a true standing SEC East contender?
Yeah, it's a challenge because, we play in the toughest conference in America. So yes, we did have some success last season, but nobody in this league is slowing down, and they're only continuing to get better and stronger as well. So understanding that and conveying to our guys that we won 7, and there's a lot of work that went into that, and we got to be even better. We got to be more consistent. I mean, there's so many things that we look back at last season that we did well, but there's a lot of things that we looked at that we didn't do well, and trying to improve those to help us have better success on the field. And we certainly want to embrace the excitement about the program right now, because it's certainly felt, nationwide. It's felt in recruiting. So we don't want to run, from that and all we did, but also understanding that 2021 is over, and this is a whole new team that has its own set of challenges that has to come together, pretty quick, because, to open the season, we're not tiptoeing into anything. So we've got to really come together, and, everything that I've seen in the weight room and things like that has gone, it shows me that our players have understand that and have embraced that.
I know you got to run, so I'll let you real quickly here on Spencer Rattler. We know all the physical tools. He's dripping with talent. We've seen the play. He struggled last year. What about him mentally that people don't know will allow him to flourish in an even tougher conference that you just mentioned?
I think I go back to Spencer at Oklahoma. He dealt with adversity. And, people think, well, he didn't have the 2021 year that he wanted and got benched and all that. No, I remember 2020 where Oklahoma's last 3 quarterbacks before Spencer were Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts. And then here comes this hotshot freshman quarterback, Spencer Rattler. And what does he do? He proceeds to lose our first 2 Big 12 conference games. We lose to Kansas State at home, and we go on the road and we lose at Iowa State with Spencer as our starting quarterback. You guys know from covering college football, like, Oklahoma doesn't start out 0-2 in the Big 12. That just doesn't happen. Nope. So there was a lot of pressure and adversity he dealt with then. And then we go to Texas, play Texas down in the Cotton Bowl in October. And Lincoln, Coach Riley, he actually benches Spencer in the first half of that game, puts him back in there in the second half. We go on and win that game, I think, in 4 overtimes. Oklahoma doesn't lose a game the rest of the year. We end up winning the Big 12 championship against Iowa State. We win the Cotton Bowl against Florida. Now, at that time, I'm already here because I got hired in between at Carolina. But I just saw how Spencer dealt with adversity then, didn't let it affect him, and what he did after that. And then whatever happened at Oklahoma last season, I don't know, but I just know the Spencer that I was around. He's the kind of guy you want leading your team, and he's a great young man. He's a smart player. That has really worked hard since he got here in January to become a member of this team. And I think he's taken a step from a leadership standpoint this summer as well. I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year for us.
Well, congrats on all the success in year 1. Obviously, a lot of work to do. We really appreciate your time for being so gracious. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys. Keep up the great work.